12 kilos amongst the entry total for these men, and perhaps the fascinating character amongst a lot of them could well be Oleg Perepechenov, who really, if he's at anywhere near his best, well, he'd be a favorite. But as you can see there, 82 kilos 57, pretty well the lightest of the class in this championship in Doha. Just one medal to be decided today, and ready to go in the snatch with Valeria Calancia of Romania.
Yes, I think I'd agree with you. On form, Perepechenov is certainly would be the favourite with a posted total of 385, and with that light body weight. But as we've seen in the past, sometimes he can be very inconsistent, but let's hope he's going to have a good day today. Anyway, the man on the stage now, coming in very early on the snatch at 160, but he's known for his tremendous power in the second phase of the competition, the clean and jerk.
Yeah, this is the sort of kiloage that he usually ends up on rather than begins. So he's obviously aware that tonight he's actually got to go for it. He can't afford to go any lower than this to start. He's got to put himself in the game right away. And the Romanian athletes have looked pretty well prepared. But having said that, that's really not the start that he needed. Incidentally, many thanks to you as ever for your emails. Question@weightlifting.de. Russell in Northern Ireland, don't know if you're with us tonight, but if you are, you were asking about why are there no competitors from Turkey or Belarus or Greece this year. Well, in the case of Greece, it's just a question of them reorganizing their team, and they haven't managed to achieve that at the moment. Turkey, the subject of an inquiry at the moment, which we've yet to discover the outcome. Belarus, no particular reason given to us about the Belarus athletes not being with us. Halil Mutlu, of course, from Turkey, as you know, we've mentioned it a few times, serving a 2-year suspension. And Georgi Azanidze from Georgia. Well, every time we say he's retired or injured, he comes back and defies the fact that he is. So I can't really tell you definitively whether he is or whether he isn't retired, because a lot of athletes after the Olympic Games, particularly at his stage of the career, take a year off. But if he is going to come back, I think we'd have to see him next year in Europe. So Calancia having to follow himself. Just a little reminder about tomorrow's competitions. They've been changed, actually. And that's a much better second attempt, and a very necessary one. Yeah, we're on the air live tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for those of you with us in Great Britain, 11 o'clock Central European time for the first of 2 gold medal categories, on the air all the way till 3:30 Central European time. Apparently somebody very important is coming. Not quite sure who it is, but whoever it is, it's resulted in the reorganization of the program, so I suspect it'll be the top man. So 160 is our point at the moment for Calancia. Lu Yong representing Chinese hopes tonight, just 19 years of age, with a total of 377.5. Now the world record's 395. That's a standard actually, which nobody's yet achieved. Rybakov has got the snatch world record of 182, and Zhang of China the clean and jerk record of 218. And there are a few juniors, so junior records may be up for grabs. And Malikian of Armenia representing one of the more experienced men at 29 years of age.
This is interesting actually, because that 218, I believe, was done in something like the Chinese championships or a student games, and under the normal rules, it wouldn't count anymore. So it'll be interesting to see. I've never ever seen him lift a big weight on a world stage. I don't think I've ever seen him do any more than 200. So it'll be interesting to see how close he gets to that 218 today.
Well, that's Zhang, who's not in this competition, so we'll have to wait and see. Well, this is Malikian, and that's a fair start. Olympic bronze medalist back in Sydney 2000. Snatched 165.5 kilos then. On his way to a total of 365, but of course half kilos now confined to history. And if I was being very pedantic, David, I'd say that his feet weren't in line. And they're supposed to be toe-to-toe, absolutely in line. Nonetheless, two Chinese in the lineup. Huan Ayun, the young man who won the national games, and Liu Yong, the man who was second. So they've not softened off here, David. They've put their two, or ostensibly their two top men in. Now Huan Ayun in picture, 28 years of age. So just to remember him by the yellow and black vest. Won 72.5 in the national games. Got the better of his countryman by 2.5 kilos in the clean and jerk. Little bit of relief. First one safely in at 165. Let's hope our friends doing the TV graphics tonight will get the body weight sorted out in the right way, because this class could be really tight and competitive. Now here's a youngster. This is Ilya Ilin of Kazakhstan. Only 17 years of age, but a rising star. The reigning junior world champion. Snatched 168 kilos in Busan. Snatched 200 and 374, which is the junior world total. Confident enough there.
17. I wonder how old he was when he started training. Well, he's not even going to come into his prime until perhaps the Olympics after the next. So potentially a very long and successful career ahead of that young man.
Best in the B group earlier on today, 165 kilos in the snatch. But I said the best, actually. The best is actually 185, which is quite interesting. So both Chinamen, both of the Chinese lifters, I should say, on their way. So still 165 on the bar.
Well, we knew this was going to be a very close competition with only a 12-kilo spread.
But here's a really interesting fact, David. and something arguably of a cock-up on behalf of the IWF, because in the B group, Andrei Rybakov of Belarus snatched 180, 183 and 185 for a new world record in the snatch. That's 2 times he broke the world record for the snatch.
But what did he clean and jerk?
Well, he totaled off at 380.
So he clean and jerked 195.
Correct.
So he's very weak on the clean, very strong on the snatch, extremely weak on the clean and jerk.
Yeah, there were 3 men that actually clean and jerked 195, but 380 is an interesting total, and might take 1 or 2 scalps.
Well, it's a shame he can't sort his clean and jerk out, isn't it?
But you see, he entered a total of 365, whereas the lowest of our lifters was 75. But nonetheless, it's a little bit embarrassing to have someone lifting as effectively as that, who breaks 2 world records in the B group. And unfortunately, our colleagues who are doing the television haven't recorded that, so they can't show it to us, or we don't know if they can show it to us. If they have, it would be really nice to see it, because he is at the moment very much the leader on 185. Which in a way, Russell, answers your question, because Rybakov from Belarus, they haven't had many lifters here, but he's already made a name for himself. So Kalencia, what's that,
165.
165. So that's just about, well, he's done 167.5. He's where you would expect him to be, really. Ranked 3rd in this year's IWF World Rankings. And now 165 for Malikian. So just to take a little look at the body weights here, Malikian weighing in pretty heavy, 84 kilos 97. Kalencia at 84.60.
Not today. So he stays on 162 kilos.
I mean, if you look right down this field, David, 185. He's got to be on the podium, hasn't he? He could even end up with the gold medal.
He'll win the gold medal on the snatch, but it's the overall, because he only clean and jerked 10 kilos more. But he's going to take I mean, he could end up on the overall podium. It's unlikely because of that clean and jerk. But
yeah, because there's plenty of lifters. If they lift to form, there's plenty of 200, 205 kilo lifters. But if you look at that, he's got 195. If they're lifting 200, 202, 5 kilos, 7 kilos, if he gets a 10 kilo march on some of these guys, it's going to be close.
Well, he's certainly going to be on the podium for the snatch.
Well, that we know. I mean, it does make you does make you wonder in a way.
So 167.
Martirosyan, the second of the 2 Armenians. Tigran Martirosyan, 5th in Europe this season. And That 167 is just about what he lifted in the Olympics when he finished 7th in Athens. So that's a good start.
Will be the next.
But of course, the man we really want to see is Oleg Perepechenov, because as a 77 kilo lifter, snatched 210.
Clean and jerk 210.
Clean and jerk, sorry, clean and jerk 210. And if he's in any form like that, David, then he's immensely dangerous. So now, Vyacheslav Yashov. Is this 170?
Yes, 170. For the second of the men from Kazakhstan.
Yeah, 24 years of age. Looking for today for a total of 385.
Держи! Браво, Слава!
Tremendous depth in this class.
Yeah, now this is really a class, David. You were talking about it yesterday. A class you couldn't call. This is just so open. So the first of the two Russians, Ediev. He's had a couple of occasions in big championships where he's failed to get a total. It's usually on the clean and jerk phase that he runs into trouble.
Well, I was just about to say, he usually starts very, very high, and today's no exception.
Yeah, 170, 172 and a half, 173.
Was bronze medal winner at the Athens Olympic Games.
I was going to say about Rybakov, David. I mean, really, when they were, drawing up the competition lists, they should have been well aware, of his ability and how dangerous he potentially could be. And really, he should have been in this final. Because he would have lifted earlier in the clean and jerk the most, but would have been interesting to see him physically taking part on stage. And also, it's very different, isn't it, when you're having to lift amongst everybody who's being really competitive, as opposed to having essentially a free run on your own. I mean, there wasn't anybody in the B group who was running with him at all, not in the snatch phase.
Yes, in some ways it's an advantage because the pressure is not on you, but in another way it's a disadvantage because you don't have the hindsight of knowing whether you need to take an extra kilo or an extra 2 kilos.
Kazakhstan will be the next.
手一手好，别着急啊。
I think today is very much a day about getting 6 lifts out of 6 if you can in this class. Now, there are 2 men who still haven't started, and I'll tell you about them in a moment. Better. Like that one even better than the first one.
Much better. Yeah, very, very good.
2 men who haven't started, Oleg Perepechenov of Russia, and also Iliran Suli of Albania.
Not only is Ilya Ilin the youngest competitor in the field with his 17 years.
So we'll be expecting Perepechenov pretty soon, but
He's just been out. He just snatched 170.
To start his campaign, here's Suli.
Держи! Молодец!
17 years old. Well, that's impressive.
Now that's Suli.
Oh, he's not 17 years old.
No, he's not. He's... oh, sorry, that's Ilya. Sorry, that's absolutely right. He is... I got confused there because they put the caption up for Suli and then it was Ilya. They got confused and I got confused. Ilya Ilyin of Kazakhstan. So the only man who hasn't actually started is Suli. So Ediev now, a failure the first time at 170.
He does like putting himself under pressure, this man.
170 kilograms remain on the bar for
But we know him of old, and chances are, David, he'll pull it out of the fire. Mr. Riga will work on him. So Perepachenov there with that very light body weight, 82.57.
The graphics are wrong again. Man from the B group, 185, should be number one.
Absolutely, but he's, according to them, he's not in the competition. Yeah, if you're just coming in, very good evening to you. David Morgan together with myself, David Goldstrom. We're early stages of the men's 85 kilo class. On the stage, lifting in the hall, it's Oleg Perepachenov, who's moved up from 77 to 85 kilos, who at the moment leads the way, but in reality he doesn't, because Andrei Rybakov, earlier this afternoon in the B group, snatched not one, but two new world records, 183 and 185 kilos. And the man from Belarus is technically leading the snatch competition. So 185, that's where these lads have got to go to if they want to take on Rybakov. So pressure lift to stay alive, to give himself a chance of a total. Somehow he always seems to pull it out the fire.
Yes, it's good there. So they finally finished with
But that's as far as he goes. But he has the ability to clean and jerk 200, but he's going to have to find more kilos than that if he wants to get back into this.
Second attempt.
So Liu Yong with 171. And just reflecting on Ediev there, you see, he finishes on 170, David. That's 15 kilos behind Rybakov. So Rybakov clean and jerks 195. And so, you know, now you're looking at someone like Ediev.
11.
Yeah.
Which he's not going to do.
Exactly. So we know that Rybakov can't be worse than 10th, because he's bound to take the scalp of Ediev. And I'm sure he's going to take a few other scalps as well. So, Liu Yong, second in the national games, pumping himself up here. Snatched 172.5 in the Chinese national games last month. Very good.
Nice technician. Smooth.
I think both the Chinese very good at this lift.
Quite verbal. He said, see, it's easy, wasn't it?
It's interesting how the options come in there. Very good example of, you know, under the old rules, a fight, it would have been 5 kilos or 7.5, 6, and he makes it. So that does make a difference. It does make it more intriguing.
So this man having some work done in the back room. I don't know if you noticed. He's having some large quantity of deep heat rubbed on his back.
5 kilo increase for Tigran Martirosyan. of Armenia. Locks on almost at the extremities of the bar. Asanidze, of course, was the Olympic champion for Georgia. Snatched 177.5, 205, 382.5. If you remember, David, you know, remember he was always susceptible to injuries, and we never thought actually that we'd see him lifting in the Olympic Games. But you know, the 382.5, maybe he was in a way a little fortunate because he didn't really get pushed that hard.
Well, that's right. The Olympic Games, the 85 kilo class was a class where many people that we had big expectations for either didn't compete because they're real, or they competed and missed all their lifts. So I think there was a few injuries and a few illnesses, so that class was one with some low totals. And in fact,
Rybakov was the silver medalist on 380, and Dimas got the bronze.
Almost got the gold actually on his last clean and jerk. He just had to do 207.5, and it would have been the gold by virtue of body weight. So it was.
But they were sort of, with no disrespect to Piros, meeting Piros on the sort of downward curve, but he nearly pulled it out of the far, but nonetheless a great bronze medal. Well, I'll tell you what, David, if all these men are going to finish around 175, Rybakov is really in with a shout. Because if he steals a 10-kilo march on the majority of the field, he's got a real chance of being on the overall podium again.
Let's go.
Much to the embarrassment of the International Weightlifting Federation, I hope. Oh, well corrected.
Good lift.
I was going to say puts him into the lead, but of course it doesn't. It puts him into second place.
Yeah, just to emphasize for everybody, sorry to labour the point, but Andrei Rybakov in the B group, 185 kilos in the snatch phase of this afternoon's B group competition. So he currently has the highest possible position at the moment. Now Perepechenov. These are very measured lifts here by Perepechenov, Olympic bronze medalist at 77 kilos. Now up to the 85 kilo class, so he snatched 170 in Athens. So if he's comfortable, the extra body weight should mean extra kilos. Well, he didn't flap and he didn't fluster either. Stayed down in the low position, drove up, and he is now second. But he's still 12 kilos behind Rybakov. So Juan for 173. I mean, the lifting's pretty good here, David, but they are running out of lifts in relation to Rybakov. You know, I can see him having 10 kilos over most of the field, and then it's going to be really fascinating. Rybakov weighed in at 84.7, so that's going to be maybe a bit of a critical factor.
So, Chinese got rather a lot to say.
Yeah, Wan Ayun. 3 out of 3,
but it worked.
And that's good. That is just half a kilo more than the national games, but he's clean and jerk 207.5.
So he's pretty good on the clean and jerk, pretty strong. I'm really impressed with this youngster. In fact, I'd tip him for Olympic gold in the next Olympic Games. To be doing these weights at that age, there must be so much more improvement to come.
No, good effort, but he's left on 170.
Load the bar to 175 kilos, please.
So now the other Kazakhstan lifter, the 24-year-old at 175, I think the bar going to now, David.
Yeah, all the reds, 6 reds.
He's now taking 175 kilograms as a second attempt. Lu Yong to prepare.
So 9 lifters, 1 absentee now. We can confirm Suli as a non-starter. There were 10 on the list originally. Although before grabbing at that, Suli, back in the World Championships in 2002, actually snatched 175 kilos on his way to 4th place. We've not heard anything official, but I would have thought by now he would have been out for his opening lift, David. Well, that's very good. And these 2 Kazakh lifters, very useful. Always good when you have 2 in a class, working with each other, pushing each other. So Lu Yong, 165, 171, 175. There's the progress you can see. So this to go ahead of his teammate. Both of them snatched 172.5 in the national games. But it was Ayun who was more successful in the clean and jerk.
If he does this, he'll have something to say.
Oh, they are technically so good to watch. And the other side of this coin, David, is we're seeing China at full range right through the weight classes.
That's right, they used to just dominate in the very, very lighter classes, but I suppose with the Olympics in China next time round, they're starting to bring on lifters throughout the whole of the range.
Well, I think also the fact is that because the Asian Games are here in Doha next year, you know, they're taking the opportunity of getting everybody acclimatized to the place and the venue. Good explosive snatch there from Perepechenov.
And now for the last.
But he ends on 175. So he's certainly a danger to Rybakov, because he looks in really good condition. That was the best of the 3 snatches he's produced.
Yes, and he's potentially very, very strong in the clean and jerk. Has done 210 as a 77 man, so
yeah,
we should be seeing more than 210 from him. Maybe even an attempt at that world record.
So that's the situation at the moment. But But of course, Rybakov still, the absent Rybakov, still the man who leads. Very good evening to you, Rotem, in Israel. You were asking about Milan Dobrev, one of your favorite weightlifters in the 94 kilo class, which of course is still to unfold, and he is indeed in the lineup. He's entered a total of 400 kilos, so I hope you'll be with us for that.
So 180 kilos, big jump actually. 70, 75, and now 80. Only needed 76 to put himself in silver medal position. So not quite sure about the logic of this. Obviously thinks he can do it.
Well, let's hope the coaches haven't forgotten about Rybakov.
Высоко!
Point well made, David. Puts him down at 175, weighed in at 82.67, Perepechenov 82.57, so Perepechenov in silver, and this man gets the bronze. If he'd taken 176, he might have lifted it, might have got the silver medal. And of course, every kilo he gets more than Perepechenov has to help his cause, because if Perepechenov is in top form, then he's going to take all the beating. But there it is. They've said there that Yershov is in top position in the snatch. No, he's not, because Rybakov is. He's not even in second, because Perepechenov is, because his body weight, as you can see there, is 82.57. Yershov is 82.67. So once again, I apologize. It's not our fault. It's out of our control. I know it's frustrating, but the man who's got the gold is the man who set the 2 new world records in the B group earlier this afternoon. That's Rybakov. Perepechenov takes the silver, and Vyacheslav Yershov of Kazakhstan gets the bronze. Rybakov with a 10 kilo advantage over the men who've lifted this evening in the A group. Will it be enough to see all of them off, or some of them off? Well, for all the television trickery, David, it would just be nice to see the man who's got the new world record, wouldn't it? It would be nice to see those pictures. You know, where is he? The invisible man. It's a bit like having 100 meters and not seeing the winner. Oh, I'm sorry, he competed in the semi-finals, but we weren't there for that. We're going to take a little break. It's nip and tuck. It's very close. So stay with us.
Now, 200 kilograms on the bar, please. 200 kilograms.
So this is interesting, David, isn't it? We've got the...
So if you've just come in to join us, we're halfway through the men's 85 kilo class. David Morgan together with David Goldstrom, and we're at the halfway stage in this particular championship. 3 men ending up on 175 kilos, but all of them 10 kilos behind the man who took 2 new world records in the B group, and that was Andrei Rybakov of Belarus. He carries forward 185, he totaled up 380, and here's the first of the men, David, who was on 175, the man who's currently in bronze medal position, but coming out early in the clean and jerk, albeit on 200.
Well, that's right. Was last out on the snatch, coming in first on the clean and jerk, which just underlines the reason for having that 10-minute interval if he didn't have a 10-minute interval, he would have literally had to walk off the platform after doing his snatch and then walk back on again without a warm-up with the clean and jerk. So just underlining why it's necessary.
But 200 as a starting point, nothing to be sneezed at. The world record is 218. But already that bar looking a little heavy.
And I think it answered one of the questions that we asked earlier. Why didn't he go 176? Why did he go to 180? And it's because he knows that his strong set is the snatch. So he was trying to make up as many kilos as he could.
Well, that gives him 375 as his running total, which is 20 kilos below the standard, which no one's yet achieved. That standard was set in 1998 when the current records were established by the International Weightlifting Federation. So interesting. So this is Ediev of Russia on 170 at the halfway stage. Yeah, looks a lot more comfortable with the clean and jerk.
Yes, took 3 attempts to get 170, but no problems there with 200.
So that takes him to 370. And remember, the magic total, David, is 380 at the moment. Andrei Rybakov, Olympic silver medalist, the world snatch record holder, in the wings, watching, I think, with some fascination on this.
Well, the advantage is that men like this know exactly what they need to do.
Well, there were one or two tried 200, but basically all of the B group, or the majority, yeah, they're all round about 195. And this is Lu Yong, second in the national games, and 205 was his mark in October. So of course, Lu Yong, that takes him to 375. And when you look at these lifts going in as openers, David, you think, well, you know, Rybakov's really got no chance. 375, this man's only 5 kilos behind him. He's lighter than Rybakov. He's surely going to overtake him, but the next 5 kilos might be quite interesting.
Lu Yong, China, who has just established a new junior world record on total. Obviously, his following lift would also mean a new junior world record on the total. Armenia, first attempt.
So the bar moving to 202 kilos. The Armenian.
Yeah, there are two of them. This is Tigran Martirosyan. So this would put him on to 374. good lifting, David. I mean, there's a lot of excellent efforts going in. It's the second attempts which are going to be the fascinating ones to watch now, because I think that's where we're going to see the big changes coming in. Calancia, you rightly said this is what he favours, but Calancia for Romania down on 165, so he's got a long way to travel to get himself back into contention here, but not impossible. World Championships 2003, when he won the world title. Clean and jerk 215, gave himself a total of 382.5. So what sort of mood is he in tonight? Well, very deep split, but that's surely fine.
He's struggling today.
So this is Huan Ayun of China as the bar goes to 205 kilos. This would give him a total of 378. I think it's the second lifts, David, which are going to be most fascinating here.
Well, the man from the B group still holding on with that total of 380.
Yeah, but the odds are against him now. This starting point of 200, if they started at 195, then his chances obviously would have been better. But at 200, they've all gone for the high stakes here, and this man has done 207.5. Chinese in the national games still keeping the half kilo alive.
I thought he'd actually had a personal best of more than that, though. For some reason, I seem to remember him doing somewhere around 210, 215.
He's done 212.5, actually. In the World Championships, when he was runner-up to Calancia in Vancouver in 2003, 212.5 also for a total of 382.5. He just lost the gold medal on bodyweight to Calancia on that particular occasion. Tonight, 84.28 Juan, Calancia 84.60, so it's flip-flop in the bodyweight stakes. But 205, he's certainly better than Calancia at the moment. So, Ilian, the junior world record holder for the total at 374 kilos.
I'm impressed with this boy.
Difficult not to be.
I just want to see what he does in sort of a year, 18 months time.
So he goes to 375 as his total. And Oleg Perepechenov coming out now, I think.
Stop the competition, please.
And maybe not. I've got to think.
Has called in the referees.
Some of the referees are being told off or something. I have to say, I've been happy with.
The jury decided that the competition may go on after the discussion with the referees. So it is 205 kilograms, and this is the first attempt.
I was going to say, I didn't think there were going to be any decisions reversed.
Yeah, that was a little curious.
Will be the next.
So it is Oleg Perepechenov. This should be fairly straightforward, I would have thought.
Well, the significance of this lift is it would actually put him into the lead now.
Yeah.
By virtue of lighter body weight over the man that lifted earlier in the day.
Yeah, Rybakov, and there it is. Oh no, I spoke too soon.
So Rybakov lives for another lift.
Yeah. Well, that's quite surprising.
He's very strong in the first phase, but he's always been sort of slightly dodgy when it comes to the second part of the movement.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that clean. I mean, it's very strange because he's almost done the work. Well, here's another man going for 380. And this is Vyacheslav Yershov. And again, he's lighter than Rybakov. So
this would put him into the lead.
It would indeed. But can he do it?
Высоко, Слава!
Well, I'd be surprised after all of that.
Well, it looks heavy. Yeah, I was going to say is once you've had to work that hard and the bars across the windpipe, he was trying to adjust, he was trying to correct it, but once it starts, it's believe me, there's not that much you can do about it.
And that is not helpful. He's only got one more attempt.
And 5 kilograms, 205 kilograms remain on the bar.
We begin to see how important that snatch on 180 would have been.
Yeah, just would have taken the pressure off him, but as it is, he could end up on 375 and Rybakov could grab another scalp. Now, Perepechenov, I think, will have to come out and do the 205 again, surely.
Established a new world record on the total among juniors, and he is now trying to improve it.
So now Lu Yong, 375. Now,
He's going for a junior world record in the total here.
yes, because he's going 205, correct? So this would be 380, and he's lighter as well. So this for the overall lead and a new total junior world record. And Rybakov is pushed back down into overall silver.
And again, a world record in the total for juniors. It is now updated on the board to 380 kilos.
So there's some good juniors coming through.
205 kilos remain on the bar.
Well, this is what you would expect in the new cycle, new Olympic cycle. But look at the Chinese here, David, as we said. Here's a young man, only 19 years of age. And again, demonstrating that the Chinese, well, they can be effective at any single weight category, man or woman.
5 kilograms. Oleg Perepechenov, Russia, second attempt.
So in fact, Lu
will follow him.
On 2:05 has the overall lead now, Perepechenov. Now, the weight difference here would give Perepechenov the overall lead by virtue of lighter body weight. He would also have 380.
It's that wasted first attempt, though.
Yeah, that's much better.
It's made life very difficult for him.
Yes, it is, because with 2 lifts to go, just have so many more options.
Yes, he's got 1 card to play now. He's going to have to play it very, very cleverly.
Possibly very late. But that's not easy, because there's so many people who are live in this clean and jerk competition. You know, if there's only 2 or 3 of you, it's much more easy to fathom out, you know, where to go. And now a man who was in bronze medal position overall at the halfway stage failed at 2:05 the second time, and this is his last attempt to get to 280.
But this would put him into 2nd place, because he would equal Perepechenov's total.
And he's lighter than Liu Yong.
And of course the man who lifted in the B group.
Indeed. But he is heavier than Perepechenov, yeah, so overall silver. Odds against?
Well, I just don't think it's going to be enough anyway. I just think there's still too many men left in this competition.
The second lift was so important, David, and it went so badly wrong for him that it starts to affect him in his head, in his belief, what he can do, what he can't do.
So he needed the 180 on the 3rd snatch and a 2nd clean and jerk if he was going to guarantee himself a medal in this competition.
So Vyacheslav Yershov of Kazakhstan left on 275, effective in the snatch, but the 180, as you said, David, that was crucial, as it turns out. And so he slips down the order. But having said that, only 24 years of age, but remember his teammate from Kazakhstan's only 17. So Ediev for Russia now. Now he's on 370. So this would take him to 377. Interesting increase here. 7 kilos.
Well,
So
put
reasonably
him into the lead on the clean and jerk. He looked good on his opener, I thought. He'd originally posted 202. I think they wisely took him down to 200 so that he could get a total on the board, and now they're going to use the next 2 attempts to build towards, well, hopefully some kind of a medal.
I think this is a big question, though. If he can bring that leg forward and stand still, and he can. Well done to Azambek Ediev of Russia. So 277, he posted an entry total of 380. So it went slightly awry in the snatch phase, but he's pulling it back. It's interesting, Yershov of Kazakhstan, he posted a total of 385, but ended up with 375. Now Martirosyan, again 207. So this would take him to 379. So still behind Rybakov.
Artık hocam. Kurskad! Kurskad!
So just reflecting on Perepechenov, I think he's got to be prepared to do 210, David.
I agree. And even that might not be enough.
It might not be enough.
The Chinese looks, you know, the Chinese came in there, got his 2:05 in. We know he's done 2:12 and a half in the past, so he's dangerous.
So Calancia with 2:07.
Yes, doesn't seem at his best today, does he, Calancia?
No, it's not a spirited defence of his world title.
It's not there today.
No, he's stuck at the moment on 367. So what a poor evening, basically. He's the first of the Romanians, to be honest, David. I've been quite impressed with the way that the Romanian, you know, men and women have been prepared for these championships. But he's the first one, I would say, who's sort of just looked out of sorts. Martirosyan, third and final attempt, 2:07. So even if he gets this, Rybakov with his 380 from the B group is going to finish ahead of this man. Just has a little look at the clock, no worries in terms of time. You know, just goes through that tried and tested routine. There's the 30-second buzzer. I don't think he'd carry my shilling.
Not today. Good first phase. Needs to work on the drive from the shoulders to overhead.
Leaves him on 374. So just to reiterate, Rybakov from the B group on 380, but that total has now been matched by Liu Yong of China, who's got 380. Also by Oleg Perepochenov, who's got 380. And also the other Chinese lifter, Huan Aiyun, at 378, just knocking on the door, and he's still got 2 attempts to come. And also the youngster, Ilya Ilin, on 375 with 2 lifts to come. The junior world, or former junior world record holder, I should say, for the total. What a big attempt. But albeit, I'm afraid, a little bit too late, David. Just seemed to wake up for that, but he needed to wake up 5 lifts ago. So he gets his 2:07. He is not, well, in the clean and jerk, 84 kilos 60. So it's only 372 kilos. It's still a pretty poor evening for him. Well, in fact, they've got Calancia down as 84.50. I had him in as 84.60, according to our printed entry sheet. But back to the business in hand. 210 for Liu Yong. So this is for a total of 385 kilos and a new junior world record total.
And incidentally, this is more than the weight that won the Olympic Games. Just to show you how things are moving on again.
Yeah, this is more than Azanidze, who totaled 382.5. At 19 years of age, what a future this young man has. But he still might not win.
6 good lifts.
Straight and 3 new world records.
So, can't ask more of him than this really good lifting. Technically, particularly in the snatch phase, but also here in the clean and jerk, so good.
Yes, this boy's got a bright future. So from one youngster to another, from 19 down to 17.
So this would take him to 380, but of course he does have, sorry, 381, and going for a new, no, what am I talking about here? This would 381, so this wouldn't be a new record, but remember he's still got one lift to go after this. 211 though is a new junior world clean and jerk record, so that's his, and he's still got the chance to go for the total. So 381 kilos for him with one more go. Well, this is extraordinary now. It just went into a little pause, but now the whole competition coming alive. Remember, we've still got Wan Ayun, the other Chinese lifter, with 2 attempts to come. Perepachenov with 1 lift to come. Ilian with 1 lift to come. And this man, Eddie F. 211 for a bit of glory. This would take him to 381. Now Eddie F weighed in at 84.73. Ilian at 84.65. So Ilian would still be higher than this man in the clean and jerk rankings. That's good. Well, I'm sure that's going to give him a lot of confidence, David. At 25, still could be quite dangerous when it comes to the Olympic Games. But he finishes on 381.
Now he's 36, isn't he?
Is he 36?
Born in 1970. I can say he looks older than 25.
Yes.
So he's doing
35 actually, sorry. I'd written 35, yeah.
35.
35, yeah. So Wan Ayun now at 212. So this would take him on to 385. Weighed in at 84.28. So he's lighter than Liu Yong, so this would take him ahead of his teammate by virtue of body weight. So 385 with still 1 lift to go after this. And this is a weight that we know he can lift. Lifted this in the Worlds in Vancouver when he ended up in the silver medal position behind Calancia. But he's in much better form than Calancia tonight. So this for the overall lead. So 212 kilos. Remember, these men weighing 85 kilos or less. Very interesting that Perepachenov didn't go for 210, which is where I thought he would go, but just looking at Ilian leading the clean and jerk rankings, but now Perepechenov with 212. Last attempt, but this would take him to 387 and the overall lead. Last card. No, not to be. So he's left on 380. He missed 205, then got in the first 205, yeah. Because it really limited his options.
As you say, though, he's very strong. He gets the weight overhead easy. It's just the fixing the bar and keeping it there.
So we're down to 17-year-old Ilya Ilyin and 28-year-old Juan Ayun. This man in picture has got to try 212 again. That 212 would take him up to 385, and as we said, put him into the overall lead. Well, they're saying junior world record, but I don't follow that because he's older than... He's a lot older than the junior. He's given us a birthday of 77.
So this for the lead, and then there's only one man that can take it away from him.
And he can't. And he's left on 378, which means Rybakov has actually got ahead of him. So when you look at it at the moment, Perepechenov with 380 is in silver. Lu Yong is 385 and in gold. And Rybakov, because he's, just checking this, Ediev's got 381, which is 1 kilo ahead of...
So last lift now, 216 junior world record attempt, but this would also put him into the lead on the total by 1 kilo. This is a 17-year-old boy.
86 and the title for Kazakhstan.
Well, I said watch out for him in a year, 18 months.
Wow, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yes. Well, watch out for him now. 17 years old, 216 kilos. And the new world champion. Well, who would have guessed it?
He's seen off the Russians. He's seen off the Chinese. Armenia, Albania, Romania. They've all succumbed, and 386, a new clean and jerk junior world record, a new junior world total record. 386. It was 374. It was his record before the evening started. He's now extended it to by no less than 12 kilos. Well, we're getting towards the end of the year. Who knows? He might be Kazakhstan Sportsman of the Year.
Well, I think he'd deserve it.
Well, I know there's no doubt. I tell you he's going to have a party tonight. And it's so good, actually, David, to see people really enjoying themselves. But there it is now. This is the clean and jerk. Now remember, Ilyin with the 216, then Ediev. How good is that to get 211 and come back? So that's an excellent medal for him. And then Lu of China, the younger of the two Chinese, with 210. Now Will they put Rybakov in the overall classification? No, they won't, because we have to put him in, because Rybakov actually goes into 5th place. The man who set new records in the snatch division earlier today in the B group of 185 kilos. What am I talking about?
Yes, right.
185 kilos, ended up on 380, the same weight as Perepechenov, but heavier than Perepechenov, so he takes 5th place and takes the scalps of Juan and Yershov and Martirosyan and the 2003 champion Kalansia. And Malikian of Armenia, who didn't participate in the second half of the competition, or Suli, who didn't even start, so just a pity that we didn't see Rybakov. Came pretty close to getting an overall medal. Well, there are some names to put in the notebook for years to come. Ilya Ilyin from Kazakhstan, the champion of 85 kilos, but also I think Liu Yong, another promising lifter. David, still a teenager for China at 19 years of age, not that far away with 385, just a kilo behind. So that's just about all we've got for you tonight. Hope you enjoyed the action here. Still, of course, the men's 94, the women's super heavyweights over 75 kilos, the 105, and the super heavyweights to come as we move our way down the week. Time for us to take our leave. I think the Kazakhstan hotel is where we ought to be heading, David, for a drink or two. I think they'll be, as they say, up all night and probably most of tomorrow. Hope you've enjoyed the action here. As I say, plenty more to come. Still 4 titles to be decided, and I hope we can have a little bit of your company over the coming days. Now, tomorrow we're back pretty early, actually. 11 o'clock Central European time, 10 o'clock for those of you with us on British Eurosport. It's all been brought a little forward because of some important dignitaries who had to come here earlier in the day. And so, if you can, try and join us in the morning and through lunchtime. For now, though, from David Morgan and myself, David Goldstrom, once again, bye-bye from Doha.